Welcome to a very special edition of Fast Money. And tonight, Fast is going crypto. We're live at the St. Regis Hotel in San Francisco. The Credit Suisse Blockchain West Symposium is a gathering of a who's who and the top investors, thought leaders, and executives from the world of investing in crypto. And we've got three of the biggest names joining us tonight. Tim Draper, a billionaire VC legend and early backer of Tesla, among other companies. He'll be here shortly. Plus, the president of Coinbase, Asif Hirji, is going to make a major announcement right here on the show that will rock the crypto world forever. You won't want to miss that. And Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Wall Street's most beloved crypto, Ripple, will join us to talk the next big thing for that coin, XRP. I'm Melissa Lee. If you're just joining us, yes, you arrived in crypto heaven here on Fast Money tonight. With me are my crypto partners in crime, BK, the original Bitcoin baller himself, and Dan Nathan, who's a consultant for Credit Suisse. We're all Bitcoin today, but let's go ahead and bring in Silicon Valley legend Tim Draper, the founder of the VC firm DFJ and Draper Associates, an early investor in Tesla, Skype, one of the biggest Bitcoin investors in the Valley. So Tim, welcome to Fast Money. We appreciate you.
Great, fun to be here.
You with your Bitcoin tie.
Absolutely, promoting as I go. Yep.
You were an early investor in Bitcoin. You bought some of the Bitcoin assets that were auctioned off by the U.S. Marshals with the shutdown of Silk Road. But you're also a big investor in the company. So tell me about how you take a look at the opportunities out there and how you view the ecosystem.
Well, I think crypto in general and Bitcoin specifically is transformative. Suddenly you have a distributed currency that is not subject to the whims of some political force or another. It can go across border. It's global. In fact, I think the word international is going to fade away, and the new word global is going to come forward. And I think we've got the beginning of a major movement, and I think it's bigger than the Iron Age and the Bronze Age and the Internet age. This is the biggest thing that's ever happened to the world today. I think we've got one of the great opportunities as investors. We've got a great opportunity to participate through Bitcoin, through other crypto, through Coinbase, through other, all these groups that are doing incredible things. And as a human, I think we've now got a world where there's going to be governance that's local, but then there's going to be this virtual governance that we're all going to be a part of. And all the various governments are going to be virtual and competing for us, so that they'll have to provide good service at a low cost. And that's something governments haven't had to do before.
Right. So Tim, you can have some massive hits, Web 1.0, Web 2.0, okay? How convicted, how is the similarity in conviction to blockchain technology and crypto assets relative to those past two periods for you?
Okay, well, so Web 1.0 and 2.0 I guess 1.0 transformed communications and information and gaming and entertainment and all those interesting industries. They were all pretty big industries, and they got transformed. Your industry, media, transformed in a big way by the internet. Well, now there are these industries that are even bigger, and they're generally highly regulated, and those industries are the ones that are potentially transformed by the blockchain. Real estate, insurance, banking, venture capital, investment banking, and healthcare, and government itself, I think, is an industry. A lot of people think of it as like a foregone conclusion, but it's an industry, and we're going to be able to choose the government that's right for us. And I think that's a whole new way of looking at the world. The world's going to open up, and they're going to have to provide service just like every other business provides good service for their customers.
So you mentioned a number of industries that could adopt the use of blockchain to sort of help them to save money, et cetera. In the long run, though, do these same industries, are they at risk of being displaced entirely? Long term, is blockchain more friend or foe?
It's never like one or a zero. It's not just like, hey, it's just going to all disappear and everything's going to go away, which is what the media was saying about itself for a while, and now the media is like thriving and things are going well. There is always like a reboot and a refreshing that happens when there's a new technology that comes through in a wave and it starts affecting different industries. And I've seen that so many times now that I'm sort of thinking, yeah, this is what's going to happen. And I'm so sure of it that I'll make stupid commitments like, hey, when Bitcoin was 300, say in 3 years it's going to be 10,000, and people are looking at me like, huh, he's totally crazy. And then it was like 3 years to the day. That was weird. That was weird. So there's something cool there.
You've seen, you mentioned multiple cycles, right? And multiple tech cycles. As investors, we get excited about what the promise is here. But then when I talk to developers, they're telling me, you know what? We're not in 1995 internet, we're in 1980s internet. Where do you see it? Is there a disconnect between investors and the developers?
Are you talking about real estate developers?
No, I'm talking about blockchain developers, right? You and I get all excited about all these things that can happen. Right.
Oh, this is going to be enormous. And at Draper Associates, we're making investments in companies that are just getting, this is just the early piece of the iceberg. We haven't even found the tip of the iceberg because there's so much more that can be done. Whenever there's this kind of a new technology, all this creativity is formed. If you're running one type of business and then you see that you could do an ICO and create a coin that then has a new marketplace, you say, oh, hey, I've got a new way of operating. And it makes both the coin and the business better because you get both, you get that extra creative boost from all of that. And it's really this is the most excited I've ever been as an investor, and I was right there at the beginning of the internet.
So make another prediction for us, Tim, because you correctly called Bitcoin 10,000 to the day practically. What's your next call?
Okay, so I'm holding off on that because April 12th, we're having a big party. And I'm going to make the announcement
April 12th.
And you are all invited. You, go ahead, come. And I'm going to make an announcement then of what my prediction is. One of my predictions is that in 5 years, you're going to walk in and try to pay fiat for a Starbucks coffee, and the barista is going to laugh at you because they're going to say, "What is this? You know, are you counting out pennies, or give me shells?"
So
it's
no
going to
more
be like, no
U.S.
way.
dollars being
They're
used
not
for
going to
cash.
use fiat. 5 years from now, none of us will, because all the engineering effort, all that excitement is focused really on Bitcoin and all of the cryptos around it, and I think that's what we're all going to be using and paying with. And then we are doing at Draper University, we're doing a crypto boot camp, a Bitcoin boot camp, and that's leading up to the party. And so it's all going to kind of come to that one moment, April 12th, when I give you exactly what you're asking.
Wow. All right, so let me ask you this one last question. A fresh dollar to put to work, yes, fiat for now, but a fresh dollar to work, would you put it into an existing cryptocurrency or would you put it into an ICO?
A fresh dollar, here's the funny thing. Here's how I look at a fresh dollar. You talked about volatility and everybody's saying, oh, Bitcoin's very volatile. I think Bitcoin's very stable. It's all these other currencies that are very volatile and they're falling away as Bitcoin becomes the standard for all of us to use. And so I think of a dollar and I think, well, let me get rid of it. I want to move into something that is going to be used in the future. So
what would that be?
Well, it'd be Bitcoin.
It would still be Bitcoin,
oh,
even though all these other coins have come out and they've gained market cap on Bitcoin?
Probably back entrepreneurs that are doing something with Bitcoin or some of these other currencies. Yeah, they're all very interesting because I think Bitcoin will be the standard. That'll be like the Microsoft when the internet came, be sort of the standard, or the Google. And then there will be all these others that could become Amazon or Apple or Facebook, but some will also be just like small little boutiques.
Right.
Like they'll only use a marketplace that's kind of just for rings or just for people who are green,
Right.
or people who are, or women. I keep looking for the women coin. I think that's going to be huge
When
because
you
it's
find
this
it, let me
movement.
know.
It's this huge movement.
Let me know, Tim.
And the coins have this ability to do a movement, to like monetize a movement.
Right.
It's different from a corporation. It's different from a nonprofit. It's something new.
Right.
And it's like the prediction of something that's going to happen, that you want to happen. It's like Kickstarter for societal change.
Huh. Interesting. Tim, great to speak with you. Thanks for your time. I'll speak to you on the stage at the conference.
Okay, good.
Tim Draper, Draper Associates. What do you? I mean, is Bitcoin going to be the standard? Do you think?
I think Bitcoin's going to be the standard digital currency out there, and exactly, we'll have an ecosystem that's built around it.
All right, coming up, it's the moment we've all been waiting for. Coinbase President Asif Hirji will be here to make a big announcement on this show. It will have a major impact on how you trade crypto. You won't want to miss it. Plus, will Wall Street's love for Ripple make it the most valuable cryptocurrency in the world? Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, will be here later this hour. You're watching a very special edition of Fast Money live from the Credit Suisse Blockchain West Symposium at the St. Regis Hotel in San Francisco. Do not go away. Much more Fast Money still ahead. Welcome back to a very special edition of Fast Money Live at the Credit Suisse Blockchain West Symposium in San Francisco, where some of the biggest names in crypto are gathered. Now, anybody who buys crypto knows what this app on my phone is. Take a look at this. You know it. Coinbase. As the crypto craze heated up, millions of crypto investors opened their own accounts on the exchange. Coinbase even exceeding the number of brokerage accounts of Charles Schwab. Joining me now is the president and COO of Coinbase, Asif Hirji. And Asif has got a big announcement to make in just a few minutes, but we want to start off with the state of the business at Coinbase. The fourth quarter of last year in particular, the month of December, was a blockbuster one. What has happened since, the last time we talked, the price of Bitcoin was much higher, cryptocurrencies in general are much higher, and now there's been a lot of volatility. What have people been doing?
So our trading volumes, if you want to have a view of what they are, it's just they're basically related to where the asset price is and what overall volatility is. So the higher the asset price and the higher volatility, you'd expect more trading behavior. This is the same as in equities. When we ran Ameritrade, it was the same way. And so, given that volatility is slightly down, given that the asset prices are down, our volumes are not where they were in December. They're still very healthy, but they're not where they were in December.
Right. With all that growth that you saw in that last quarter of the year, in the last month of the year, there were a lot of customer complaints. And
yes.
I want to point out that a lot of the exchanges across the board experiences as well as the trading volumes ballooned. You guys were just not equipped to handle this all.
Sure.
What is the state now? Has the consumer and customer experience improved in your view?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So let's put it in perspective. In 2017, the trade volumes increased about 30 times, 30x. It's pretty tough to grow 30x without having some bumps in the road, and we had our fair share of bumps. The platform grew more than 40x. Our actual support capability grew 600x. That's still not enough. We still had a lot of customers that didn't get the service they needed. You might have seen that we hired Tina Batnagar. I hired her from Twitter. She's an amazing hire. She's done a fantastic job. We're in fact hiring 500 additional reps this quarter, of which the first 90 started yesterday. It takes us time to hire reps. We're dealing with people's money, right? So from the time we find somebody to the time we put them through the security checks and everything else, it does take us some time. But we are, the queues are down, service levels are back where we need them to be, and we, as long as we don't have some massive spike like December, we should be fine. And by the end of this quarter, we'll be in great shape.
So there's a lot of talk about this conference that this is the asset class for millennials. From your user base, do you see that? Can you back it up with any kind of data that you have more millennial users than maybe in Ameritrade?
Well, yeah, I think certainly the early adopters were all millennials, and many of them were that. I think the asset class has matured. And like any asset class that matures, you now see the people who have the money, which tend to be the more 50-ish, 55-ish, and those people are coming on board, and they're trading now as well. So we have a pretty diverse range of traders on our system, and in fact, one of the announcements we're making today is to help accelerate the maturation of the asset class.
And we'll get to that in just a minute. But in terms of trying to figure out where the next leg of growth is going to come from, is it by adding new coins to the platform to increase volumes?
Right.
Where are you seeing it come from?
So we get this question all the time of why are you not adding more coins?
Yeah.
And so let me address that. We have said publicly we are committed to adding more coins to the platform, and we will. Having said that, we have published a digital asset framework that lays out how we evaluate coins. There's some rubbish out there that we need to avoid. But more fundamentally than that, there has been a lot of discomfort by the SEC around a lot of these ICO-based tokens. And it would have frankly been irresponsible for us to have added a lot of these assets in the face of that uncertainty. We are trying to legitimize this asset class. We're not going to be the ones that are operating in the black. There's plenty of exchanges that want to do that. That's not us. We're the leader in the space. We take it very seriously. So as there is more regulatory certainty, we will add more assets.
It's interesting that you mentioned ICOs because even with XRP, which is the coin of Ripple, I mean, in the past couple of days we saw it spike because we simply advertised the fact that you and the Ripple CEO were going to appear on Fast Money. You weren't going to appear together.
Right.
So obviously these are separate interviews, but there were rumors going around that XRP would be added and that would be the big announcement to be made today, which it is not.
That's not the announcement.
But is it concerning to you that there is maybe not enough liquidity out there where people can push around the price so much?
Yeah. So no, you're absolutely right. So we look at that very specifically. When we're thinking about listing a token, we look very hard at how open is it to market manipulation. And frankly, all the noise that's out there about whatever token, pick your favorite, the more it drives volatility and looks like it's being manipulative, the less likely it is we're going to list it anytime soon, because that's not healthy for the ecosystem. So in fact, I met Brad coming in. He's about to come on the show, and I was joking with him, should we take a picture of ourselves and post it on Twitter?
You will not believe what that would cause if you did that.
Exactly. But no, that's no.
But let me ask you this. One of the things that I think, the adoption of your platform is, the simplicity has really helped that for all intents and purposes. There's not this big. Do you guys think about people tuning into this show? They want to hear what we have to say about relative valuation or these metrics. Do you think about an educational process for the coins that you do have listed and adding some analytics to the platform in a pretty simple fashion, so people can kind of do a little more than just check the message boards about what they're going to buy and sell?
So that's a great question, right? So in equities, you'd have these like tear sheets on the assets. You'd have all this data you could go look at. That needs to be created, right? That needs to be created. And I would say that you also need easier vehicles to actually get exposure, and that needs to be created as well, right? I think fundamentally, though, our positioning is we are the safest and most trusted, and everything we do has to follow those two rules. The most trusted is about things like the market manipulation and is there the right data. The safest is this is not like equities, right? I ran a big equity trader. That's frankly just record keeping. This is not record keeping. Here we're dealing with digital bearer bonds, right? And so if you don't know what you're doing, bad things are going to happen on the custody side. So we look at that very hard. We think that as this asset class matures, all those things you would expect, that market data and everything else is going to show up.
Asif, you're going to stick around because you've got a major announcement that you're going to make right here on this show in regards to Coinbase app. Twitter is losing its mind in anticipation of what that announcement is. We'll tell you in just a moment. I'm Melissa Lee. You're watching Fast Money. We're live at the Credit Suisse Blockchain West Symposium in San Francisco. And we are back with the Coinbase president and COO, Asif Hirji. And we hope you're pumped because just as we promised, all of you tuning in right now are going to be the first to hear about the next big thing for Coinbase. So why don't you tell us all about it?
Thank you for inviting us here and letting us do this. So, we've talked a lot about the maturation of the asset class and what needs to happen. In crypto right now, it's mostly active traders, right? We're getting some institutional demand, but we haven't really done much for the individual investor. And so I'm delighted to say that today, Coinbase is announcing the launch of the Coinbase Index Fund. It's basically a very simple to use, easy way to get exposure to the crypto assets that we offer on our exchange. It's a market cap weighted index fund. It's underpinned by the Coinbase Index, which is effectively the benchmark data for crypto, which we're also announcing today. And both of those will be available very, very shortly. And people will be able to sign up, they'll be able to invest, and we'll be able to give them exposure. Now, unfortunately, day one, it'll only be available to accredited investors. Again, back to the regulatory uncertainty, those are the investors who are allowed to do it now. Over time, we would hope very much to expand it to all investors, right? And we're working with the regulators on what it's going to take to make that happen.
What are the mechanics of this? Will you actually hold the actual cryptocurrencies that are on the exchange in order to reflect what's in the fund?
Yes.
Are you buying?
Absolutely. So there's a separate legal entity, which is completely separate from Coinbase to protect the investors, Coinbase Asset Management. that is the entity that you will be a customer of. It will buy the assets in the fund. It'll market weight those assets. It'll rebalance those assets as the index goes up and down, and you'll be able to, just like any other fund, you'll be able to invest or redeem over time. So
it's a really interesting concept. Obviously, a lot of people get nervous about the whole idea of a cryptocurrency. I think at a conference like this, you hear digital assets and crypto assets, that sort of thing. So you actually are creating an asset class for all intents and purposes, and you see this as something that will expand users, or for all intents and purposes.
I would argue that crypto is an asset class.
Yeah.
It's on an arc, just like every other asset class, of maturation, right? It went from the active traders to now institutions are trading it, to then the individual investors are going to trade it. Individual investors, they tend to trade in funds, and they tend to trade in index funds, right? Passive investing. That's why we've created the index, and we've created the index fund to enable that.
Is Coinbase effectively picking winners and losers, because you also decide what goes onto the Coinbase platform, which will then go into that fund?
The funds. Yeah, no, there is some argument to that. So I would go back to, we are committed to adding more assets to the exchange. If we add an asset to the exchange, it'll show up in the fund. It'll be market cap weighted. We have a framework for how that works, and we look very hard at that, and that's what's going to drive what shows up on the exchange, and therefore in the index and in the fund.
So back a little bit to the mechanics of it. So this is going to be open to accredited investors.
Yes.
Is there a holding period that you have to be in? Is there a 1-year lockup or anything like that?
No, we're trying to make this super simple.
Okay.
So there's other vehicles out there. Like today, if you want access to a fund, you're typically buying a hedge fund, you're paying performance fees, you've got lockups. We're not doing any of that. This is a vehicle to be as simple as possible, to be as friendly as possible. It gives you easy in, easy out, low fee, and it's completely transparent and based on that index. It's just like an ETF in many ways, but it's not, right? So this is a crypto fund.
Yeah.